Hello! It's our birthday. Nurtured by Nature Community Growing Project is 1 year old today. So we thought we'd take a look back, show you where we started and show you how far we've come since then and give you a sneak peek of what we're planning going into our second year. So let's have a look. So as you can see, there wasn't a lot here apart from broken glass and mess. So we had an old tarmac playground that we had to clean up. 42 bags of rubbish we took off that area of land right at the very beginning. But we had nothing to build with. So we started with these 10 dirty, smelly old wheelie bins, which we cut down, cleaned, sanded, painted, put some stickers on to make them look pretty. And those were our very first planters on the project. Obviously, growing on concrete, we needed raised beds and we needed to fill them. And we were very, very fortunate to have been donated this huge pile of this mountain of soil, which we then had to shovel from one layer to the next because we were putting the artificial grass down. But as a result of that, we were able to grow all this food successfully. In our first year. And that meant we had all that food to give away to our local community at the weekend markets that we started in the summer. But, as is always the case, there's always more soil and there's always more compost needed. And as we extended into the bottom section this year, more soil was needed, more shovelling was required because we can't get any of the vehicles onto the project, so the soil goes into the car park and it has to be barreled round. Now the first thing I want to say is a huge thank you to everybody who has helped at all the different times moving the soil, the compost, the wood chips, the stones from that car park round to the project, or from the top section of the project to the bottom section. And I think it's really interesting to once we counted it up, to realise there's been nearly 50 tonnes of soil, compost, wood chip and stones moved onto that project in 1 year. Because we had a lack of space on the project itself, this last lot, which was just done over this weekend, had to go from the car park to the triangle, which is outside the project, and then from the triangle to the project, which is, for 4 tonnes of soil, you've actually moved 8 tonnes. But it had to be done, and now it is done. So all of that soil has to go somewhere, and on this occasion it was into the new planters that we built. So let's take a look round the project and see how much it's changed in that year. So first up we have the strawberry wall, and now we also have a strawberry pyramid at the entrance gate, and we have some empty planters which I suspect might end up being strawberries as well. We have our polycrub and our seating areas and our compost bins, which have all been built from donated materials. And then Pauline and Gillian built this amazing potting bench right next to our new market stall, which is adjacent to the shed, and we're going to put some shelter over the top of that. And then in front of that we have what's going to be our little workshop area for when we start doing workshops later in the year. Behind that we have our workbench, which allows us to build all the new planters and things like that out of the way, because at the minute we just build them wherever we've got the space. So this is a dedicated area for building things. Pauline and Gillian have also built a tomato planter for tomatoes that we've been told will survive outside in Scotland. So watch this space. It would be really cool if they did, but that's where they're going to grow. And on the other side, we have an A-frame, which is going to be covered with net, where we're going to grow our climbing beans up and over. On the other side, we have 2 bays of berry bushes. Now we need to keep them in pots so that they don't just take over the whole project. So we have these 2 bays where we're going to grow all our berry bushes, and in front of these will be our potatoes. And you can see all our new planters on the bottom section. These have all been filled now. They just need topped off with compost, and we're ready to start planting in them. Inside Miss Polly, this was an experiment that we started at the end of last year because we were so late getting the Polycrub built. But the plants in there have done surprisingly well. As you can see, they have done really well. Miss Polly's dolly is obviously keeping a close eye on them. And then over into my garden, which has now become an extension of the project. So this is the first crub in my garden, and you can see in here we have the potatoes chitting. We have some early tomatoes that went out a few weeks ago that are actually doing okay, surprisingly. And then outside in the actual garden itself is our orchard. And we have all the fruit trees, all the fruit bushes. They didn't do well in the project last year, it was too windy for them, so they're in here because they're sheltered. But that's all our fruit trees, bushes, our blueberries, some more strawberries. There are strawberries everywhere. We also have some honeyberries, which are doing extremely well for this time of the year. They look amazing. And then on the table we have all our seedlings, which were started indoors and then moved out to harden off. And in the situtery we also have some onions and chives ready to go out, and some citrus in the little greenhouse inside the situtery to see if they would survive the winter. And on the doorstep, the herbs from last year, which they're all coming back over the winter, since being out all over the winter. Now in the back garden, we've built this netted tunnel because our brassicas just did not do well last year. They got absolutely munched and then they all bolted. So we've made this netted tent in the back garden, which is cooler, so hopefully they won't bolt. And inside we've got all these beds ready for the brassicas, and outside we've built a platform for tubs for even more brassicas. So as you can see, we started filling it up with extra tubs, which will also be netted. And then at the side of the greenhouse we also have another 2 beds which will be for brassicas. Inside the greenhouse it's all been cleaned out and topped up with compost and ready to go for this year. Not quite sure what we're going to grow in there this year yet, but we'll figure it out. And then in the corner, our grapevine from last year. I hope it comes back. It looks a bit dead, but we'll see what happens. Now, inside my house has also become an extension of the project. So in this mini greenhouse, which is in front of my office window, these are all our lemon trees that we grew from a single organic lemon last year. I think we have 15 of them, and they're doing really well. They like it on that windowsill. And these are the marigolds that we grew from last year's seeds that we saved from the marigolds we grew last year. So again, they look to be doing pretty well. I got some lights for another mini greenhouse, and in there we have some early tomatoes, some purple thyme, and some of the flowers that were the edible flowers that we're hoping to grow this year are also doing really well in there. Which takes us to the tent. The infamous grow tent, which has done so well. I'm so pleased with it. So let's just have a look at what's going on in here. Everything is doing amazingly well. That's our ginger, which is growing right up the back of the tent. It's doing exceptionally well. And so we have some seedlings in the bottom there as well. Nothing really says spring quite as much as the buds breaking on the trees. And here you can see some of the fruit trees are breaking bud in the garden, which is amazing. Our willow that we put round the bottom section of the project is looking amazing. It's so beautiful, and we're really pleased that that's it all starting to come away now. Our first flowers of this season, our hyacinths, are through. How beautiful are they? And we also have, look at that is our first pepper, which was grown in the tent. But look how healthy that looks. So we're very, very pleased with that. And there we are, 15th March 2026. A whole year of clearing, cleaning, shifting, shoveling, planning, building, planting, growing, harvesting, and having a huge amount of fun along the way. So, are we ready to spring into our second year? See what I did there? Of course we are, and we can't wait for the growing to start. We'd love to see you all. Come along. You don't have to have any experience, just curiosity. We keep saying, it's just an experiment. It's all just an experiment. And we can't wait to see you all in our second year. And a huge thank you to everyone who's helped us in these last 12 months to get the project from where it was at the beginning to where it is now. We'll see you all next time. Happy gardening!